Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop. And this is my performance review of the Anta Zap 2. So if you guys didn't know, Donte Divincenzo has a signature shoe. The Zap 1 was one of my favorite hoop shoes of last year. And obviously he signed with Anta. But also he got traded from the Knicks, and this is the Knicks colorway. So that kind of sucks, but it's pretty cool for a mismatched color, right? This shoe retails for 170 bucks over at Famuji, which is where I got it. So if you guys do want to cop, I try to leave in the free link in the description box. If you do choose to get the shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the free link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, Anta's been making some big waves because they signed Kyrie Irving. So yeah, they're signing Donte Divincenzo. I don't know why he has a signature shoe, but he does. And a lot of people were asking, like, why does he have a signature shoe? Yeah, but either way, again, the Zap 1 was amazing. So we'll have to see on if the Zap 2 is amazing in this video. But yeah, let's get it started off with the tracciones. And the traction is pretty dang good on a clean court. So you don't really have to break it in. It's pretty much good right out the box. So if you're playing on a very clean court, you have really good stops. I wouldn't say it's top tier. I wouldn't say it's like the hardest bite. I wouldn't say it's the hardest stop ever, but you have a pretty solid bite, which I do like, right? I would say it's around 8 out of 10 for the stop. Also, it has a very nice loud high-pitched squeak, which has nothing to do with performance. But yeah, to all my hoopers that like to have a loud squeak, this shoe has got you covered. But also, if you look at the grooves are going perpendicular to going forward, right? So it's a really good stop going forward, but going sideways, it's not as good. You know what I mean? Especially, you notice it a lot more if you're playing on a dusty court. And this shoe is not very good on dust. It picks up a good amount of dust, and it's not super hard to wipe off, but it's a little bit harder than normal to wipe off. You know what I mean? So even if I was playing on a slightly dusty, so if I was playing on a slightly dusty court, it wasn't that bad. But then once I got to like a moderately dusty or to a super dusty court, I would need to wipe a lot, and just the bite was not that good. And the dust would just get stuck on the actual grooves. I don't know, I think it's a little bit easier to see in this colorway. You know what I mean? You can see like the dirt and the dust just gets stuck on the rubber, you know what I mean? On the grooves. So if you're playing on a dusty court, probably stay away from the Zap 2. Like, definitely does suck. It's a pretty big disappointment because a lot of Anta shoes and also like the Zap 1 had really good traction, especially on dust. So yeah, the Zap 2, not great for dust performance. As far as the durability goes, I feel like you should be fine. The rubber is on the harder side of things, and the grooves are pretty thick. And you have a lot of grooves. You have a lot of surface area of rubber touching the ground. So durability seems fine with me, right? So the overall traction, I mean, when I was playing on a clean court, I had a great time. But dust, not great, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? So there's a traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it's really smooth, right? So here in the heel, we have a nice rounded shape and also fully exposed foam midsole, right? So this is kind of like a carrier, which we'll get into for the cushion. But yeah, it's super duper soft. Like, you just press it with your finger, and there's a lot of compression. So here in the heel, it feels very smooth when you're doing, when you're heel striking, doing heel dominant strides on the court. Then here in the forefoot, we got a nice rounded shape as well as a lot of forefoot flex, right? It's very flexible, has a little bit of rebound back. But yeah, overall, heel to toe transition is very smooth. Also, torsion support is not the best, you know what I mean? We do have a full length plate. You know what I mean? It's a plastic plate, I believe it was. And you can see from the outline in the outsole, right? It's this thing. It's this shape, you know? You can also see the plastic here, but it still does bend here in the midfoot, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, if you need a lot of torsion support, not the best obviously for the Zap 2, but for the most part, I feel like most people should be fine. And now moving on to the cushioning setup, which is one of my favorite parts about this shoe. So yeah, like I said, we are using a carrier. So on the outside perimeter of the foam, we can see this this foam, obviously, and it's really soft. But it's also using full-length nitro edge foam, right? Or nitrogen foam or whatever. They call it different things for some reason. It literally says nitro edge here, but then a lot of the websites, they're just saying nitrogen foam or N2 foam. So either way, right? So the nitro edge foam is the core. It's inside, and the outside we have this foam wrapping around, right? So kind of like a carrier. But yeah, it's still really soft, and you have a good amount of compression here in the heel, which I do like. And I feel like, you know, if this foam was a little bit thicker and you were a little bit higher up off the ground, it would be very laterally unstable. So it just wouldn't be good. But this foam is actually quite thin and the court feel is really good. So I feel like they did a really good job in blending that together. You know, nice compression with nice court feel, which is amazing. Also, the step and comfort is pretty dang nice. It's not as nice as, you know, like the DVD2 SE or like the All City 12 or like the Kai 1, because those are a little bit thicker, right? But the one thing I want to emphasize is the court feel. The court feel in the Zap 2 is really nice. You have great court feel, and also the insole is not that nice, super duper thin, pretty trash, right? But underneath that, we have a very soft mesh trail board, and because of that, you have very good underfoot cushion. But again, I would say it's not as soft or as plush for underfoot cushion as like the Kai 1, because it's lower to the ground, and I feel like the N2 foam, like the full length N2 foam, is thinner, so it's not super plush for underfoot cushion, but it's still pretty dang nice. And you can definitely feel, like, especially when you're landing and doing like harder impacts, you can feel your foot digging into the N2 foam a little bit more, which feels great for underfoot cushion. You have great court feel. Impact protection also, I would say it's adequate, right? It's not the best for impact protection, like comparing to, I don't know, like the Zoom GT Jump 2, which has the best impact protection that you can get, but it has really good impact protection for how low to the ground you are, right? For how thin the foam is, it has great impact protection. So yeah, it's a really nice cushioning setup, especially for guards. You know, if you're looking for a lot of cushion, however, I don't think this is the best option, of course. But if you're a guard who wants great court feel and you want maximum cushion for that great court feel, the Zap 2 I feel like is a shoe that you can't really beat, you know what I mean? So yeah, they did a really great job for the cushioning setup. And now moving on to the upper, so the Zap 2 has a very thin material, right? So it's a screen mesh, and then you have another underlaying material that they glued on, and then another mesh material underneath that, but it's still really thin. Look at that. Super duper thin, very soft. You don't need to break it in at all. We have a good amount of fuse, you know, going around the tip of the toe and also wrapping around here into the midfoot area. But yeah, it's super soft. It conforms to your foot extremely well. Not the most supportive feeling upper, because, you know, it's a soft material, right? But it doesn't stretch. You know, it doesn't stretch, so it's supportive in that way, but it does feel very soft. It's not like structurally sound, you know? But yeah, it does feel nice in the toe box. And then for the tongue, we have a very minimal amount of padding. And then it's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then on the sides, right here on the lateral and also on the medial sides of the shoe, we have this cord, right? It's just one long cord or string that kind of wraps around. They stitched it. I don't really know how much that does. I guess it adds a little bit more durability and a little bit more support. And also we have a little bit more stitching, you know, on this shoe. It's this blue color. And then here in the ankle area, we have very minimal padding. Like on the sides, very minimal. In the back of the shoe where your Achilles is, it gets a little bit thicker, but it's still very minimal. So yeah, it's a really thin, very minimal feeling upper. And of course we have this external TPU heel kind of with this crazy shiny finish on it. But yeah, if you want something cozy, if you want something a little bit more plush for the upper, it's not the best, you know, it's definitely not great. But if you want something very minimal, this is a great upper. One thing I do worry about is the durability, especially for the toe box material, but other than that, I really like the material, right? Now moving on to the fit. So I went true to size, and this shoe fits me kind of weird, you know what I mean? So lengthwise, there's a little bit of length, just a tiny bit, but usually I wouldn't mind that as much. But I feel like the combination of this material and also like here at the tip of the toe, like right here, it's a little bit looser. It's a little bit looser of a fit, but then once you go here into the back, it gets a little bit more snug, you know what I mean? So because of that kind of like looser fit at the tip of the toe, it makes the shoe feel a little bit like longer than it actually is, you know what I mean? So yeah, that kind of sucks, you know. One thing you can do to fix that is, you know, double sock or wear a thicker sock, or maybe go down half a size. But I feel like going down half a size, it might be too snug, so just probably don't do that. So it's just a weird fit for me, you know what I mean? Also, it's not the most snug fit either, you know what I mean? Like it does scrunch up, it does get a little bit looser for the fit because of this material, it's stretchy. But for the width, I would say it's like slightly narrow. I can definitely feel this part squeezing the side of my foot a little bit, but for the most part, it's not that bad. The only thing I didn't like is like the roomier tip of the toe, because it made the shoe feel a little bit like dead, like have a little bit of dead space right there, you know? But again, like it wasn't terrible, so there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown, lateral containment was good. You know what I mean? Like my foot is not coming out of the footbed. Here in the forefoot, we have this plastic piece with the Anta logo coming up, acting as a sidewall with an external heel counter. So your foot is not coming out of the footbed really at all, right? But then the upper isn't super supportive. So it, you know, it reminds me a little bit of the PG6. You know what I mean? Like the PG6 had adequate support. It was a really thin and soft material with that textile, but it wasn't the most supportive shoe, you know, comparing to, I don't know, like the AE1, you know, something that has a great support. So yeah, that's what the Zap 2 reminds me a little bit. Like, so your foot is not coming out of the footbed, but you're gonna feel your foot a little bit, you know, moving inside of the shoe because of the really thin material. It's not super structurally sound. Like for example, like the Donte U6 with the plastic, like the TPU going around the eyelets, that really stiffens up the upper and gives you a lot better support, right? But with this, not as much, but I feel like, you know, for me, it was adequate. I really didn't mind it. And I feel like most people, you should be fine. But for the people, like if you're bigger or you want a lot of support, the Zap 2 isn't the best option, right? Lateral stability was also very good. We can see this part of the forefoot protruding out, giving us a wider base, you know, so you're gonna be stable in that way. And overall lockdown was pretty dang good too. You know, like I didn't experience any type of heel slippage. So overall support and lockdown was good. It's just the upper isn't super structurally supportive. So there's that. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. So this shoe is it feels extremely lightweight, right? If I remember correctly, it is. Yes, it comes in at 10.75 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. Comes in at 10.75 ounces. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So yeah, this shoe feels extremely lightweight on foot, extremely minimal, especially because of the upper, which I do like. And also the ventilation is pretty dang good. So it's a really cool feeling shoe. And you definitely, like when I was playing it, I felt really quick. You know what I mean? Like the cushion felt great, felt low to the ground. The traction when I was playing on a clean court was really good, you know? So I did enjoy playing in the shoe, and it's a great guard shoe, especially if you want maximum cushion for how low to the ground you are. Of course, the only thing I didn't like is the traction performance on dust, right? And then moving on to the aesthetics, I really like the way the shoe looks. You know what I mean? Like also the Black Knight colorway is available on Famuji, and that colorway looks really nice. And the overall design of the shoe looks pretty dang cool. You know, I feel like it has a really unique design to it. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yeah, the Zap 2 is a very nice, very solid performer. The only thing I didn't like about it is the traction performance on dust, you know what I mean? Which sucks, you know, but I do have a gym where they usually clean it and they usually keep the court pretty dang clean. So I enjoyed playing on that court with this shoe a lot. But then some other LA Fitnesses or other 24-hour fitnesses that I went to that are usually a lot dirtier, I didn't really have a good time playing in this shoe, right? So of course, obviously if you're playing on a dusty court and you know your gym is very dusty, they don't clean it, don't get the Zap 2. But if you know you're playing on a cleaner court, you should be fine. And also this will be a really nice guard shoe. If you're a bigger dude, obviously probably don't get this. The support is lacking, but for the most part, for guards, I feel like a lot of guards will enjoy the shoe because it's so lightweight, so minimal, especially for the upper. The traction is solid on a clean court. The cushion, you're low to the ground, but you have great stepping comfort, and also the foam has good compression and adequate impact protection. Support will probably be adequate as well. So yeah, that about concludes my performance review of the Zap 2. It's not the greatest performer in my personal opinion, but it's solid, right? So anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the Anta Zap 2. Again, if you guys want to cop, I'll try to leave in the affiliate link in the description box, but that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.